we're we're low res but high frame rate, but we're not taking advantage of that because I think the camera's only set to like 30 frames, so it's just doing frame duplicating. I haven't tweeted that we're live yet. I'm gonna tweet that right now. Yeah, we're live now with this Monday night nonsense. It's me, Dan, and H bomb and the and at clear as crystal and H bomb and at Black Magic News. No, I'm not going to tag them. And yeah, I mean everybody in chat can like see what. Oh,
Like
yeah, no,
best.
they think you're quiet because like I literally had your audio
You had
turned
me
all the
muted.
way down. Yeah, I had you muted at the hardware level.
Wow, that's super rude. Just all of the
Super rude,
rudes
just all of the rude. So everybody got to watch
compiled.
me like talk to myself, and like maybe they heard like a whisper of you. All right, there we go. There's that tweet.
Whisper.
A whisper, just a little whisper. So I got Beowulf 3/4 set up, and then was just like, nah, screw it. just just no. So who here likes cameras?
Not me. Cameras are dumb.
Can't.
This is
Oh
why I
man.
don't use camera.
Oh, Crystal, just coming out with the
Wow.
the punching.
Coming in with the discourse,
Coming
the
in with
hot
the
takes that
discourse.
cameras are stupid.
Cameras are stupid. They fucking killed the zoetrope, and I'll never forgive
They'll
them.
never forget them for killing the zoetrope.
Unacceptable. Like they destroyed the portraiture game, and I can't ever forgive it. You know, like cameras are the man. Cameras are the man. I mean, look at like Thomas Edison just destroyed film and as an art form.
We'll see if Amy's going to. Nah, Amy's in a fight time mood.
What a shame. She was so placid over the weekend.
Yeah, but now she's all fight. She's all fur and fury. Here, bring this ball of fur and fury.
Did you tell everybody how she wrecked this jump of shame the other night?
All right, fur and fury. There we go. Hello, fur and fury. There she goes. Okay, so like last week, I'm sitting here. I get off work on One Hit Die, and I'm just sitting trying to like relax. And Amy jumps up on this stuff that's behind me that you can't see, and is just sitting there for like 20 minutes doing nothing, just sitting there, quiet as a stalking cat.
Yep.
Because it turns out she was a cat who was stalking me.
Oh gee.
And so she's super fast, jumps from there like straight up to my shoulder and then over onto the top of the game cases on the stack, and they just then, you know, go everywhere. Like it's just chaos erupts. Just, you know, things just go flying, and cat falls, and she's falling, and like, you know, tries to like turn around and manages to get a couple claws into my hoodie, and so, you know, so she's pulling me back because now she's like hanging, and she's confused as to why she's hanging, and
that all of the games fell over.
Yeah.
It was good times.
So yeah, so that was the Amy.
I like your miming. I'm just now seeing your miming of Amy hanging, and it's quite amusing.
She's a great cat. She just yeah. So if you like
sweet,
if you like cameras, if you like expensive broadcast cameras and slightly less expensive broadcast cameras, then this is a good week for you because it's NAB this week. The acronym
What's
for
that, Dan?
it's a thing that I
Let
keep
me
forgetting
be the
what
foil
it's. I
for
keep
I
keep forgetting what it actually stands for. It's like National Alliance of Broadcasters, National Association of Broadcasters, whatever. It's their big tech
Yay,
conference
thanks,
and
Leon.
convention.
Our Photoshop
It's
recap
North American
friend.
Broadcasters. I don't know. But so this is when all of the like really oblique gear gets. Oh dang it! They're both at work right now. I was gonna pull something out as an example. It's when the really oblique gear gets announced. Like earlier today, I was getting really excited for a two-way pass-through converter that does HDMI to SDI in both directions. Ooh, simultaneously, yeah, really, really, really good stuff. Though also, it's only $65, and just like 6 months ago, I bought a HDMI to SDI and an SDI to HDMI for $65 each. So I'm like, frack. Anyway, but
You can't talk about like spending money on things and like regretting it with H-bomb around.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
H-bomb is the king of like, man, I just really want to buy these 5 other cameras. I have nothing to use them for, but I want them.
So I mean, so it's a good week for me, and like I obviously don't regret the other small devices. They're not that expensive in the scope of the things I need for work. They're not that expensive, and I've been using them all week. We're actually using them to do like conversions between like cameras and monitors for sending stuff like to and from like through a green screen. So we used my laptop. I actually used OBS as the live key so that we could have a monitor on set with the key already sort of roughly implemented so that they could frame things properly between their background plates and the stuff that we were then shooting in front of the green screen. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so they're actually really, really super useful. And I've made no real secret of it that my favorite camera of all time is this little cube, is this little box, the Blackmagic Micro Cinema camera. This thing has been amazing. This thing's been fantastic. I've loved it. It's not perfect, but you know, it's good and great. And
wait, do you have 2 of them?
I have 2 of them.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Should we just tell the full? We should tell the full
do you mind
story.
shorting
We should
But
tell.
you still use the other one?
We should tell the full story, shouldn't we? We like
Who-
because
who's
it leads up. I should tell the full story.
Yeah, I was like, what? Who else here has a story?
Communally, we're gonna work together
We
to
should
tell
join
the story.
you for a storytelling session.
Yes, because you're gonna react, and that will become part of the story.
Oh,
Because
I
your
will.
reactions,
I'll react.
you
I'll
are
react so
diegetically
reactfully.
audience within the performance that is this stream.
Oh man, that's me.
It is.
I am
yeah.
the voice of all of chat.
Yes.
In like
you're
one
the audience
excited
insert.
friend.
So back in February, I was rigging some stuff up to this. This is my original.
Dan, I'm sorry. Wait, you said you were going to tell a story.
I am
you're
telling
on the internet.
story.
You cannot tell a story without beginning it with, "This is a story all about how."
This is a story all about how I had to. Well, no, that gives away the ending.
Okay, don't give away the ending.
Okay, so back
going.
in the first week of February, I was busy rigging up this camera for some tests, and I was doing some stuff, and I needed to record some stuff. I was working, and I was working on a pre-show, and then I was just doing something, and all of a sudden, the monitor went dark. And I'm like, okay,
Did you like the reaction? Was it good? Was that
what?
good? Is that what you're looking for?
I was not.
Okay, cool.
I didn't particularly. I wasn't particularly thrilled, but I finished what I was doing, and then I was able to run some more tests the next day, and the HDMI port had shorted out, so the camera was still working fine. The internal recorder was still working fine. Everything else was fine except you couldn't really monitor it because it doesn't have a monitor. And so if there's no HDMI out, the only way to monitor it is through an old composite signal that comes out through the expansion port, which basically lets you see that yes, there is signal. It's not very good.
Wait, so basically you get like the little red light that's like, yeah, I'm recording.
More or less, like you can see.
But then you don't. It's like the old days.
You can
when
basically
you used to
see.
when you used to take a camera picture or something, and you didn't know until someone else developed it for you. It was just like some archaic technologies.
You can see the edge of frame, so you can sort of frame it. It's really warped and distorted and cut off, but you can see the edge of frame. You can sort of see your settings. You can kind of see your exposure, ish, sort of, and that's about it. And it's all really, really garbage looking and bad. So this is a 90% working camera. It's just the 10% that's not working is kind of important.
Yeah.
A little bit.
You can plug
which is really exciting.
Camera up to a monitor?
But Dan, you're not done with the story. Because, see, I actually do know this story. The story continues because you sent it in.
Oh. Okay. We're going to tell that part of the story, too, I guess.
You have to tell the whole part of you have to tell the whole story, Dan. There's
I contact...
twist. There's a third act twist. Like,
oh, God. Okay, so I contact the manufacturer, and I'm like, hey, here's the problem with my camera. And they're like, here's the problem with my camera. Here's the things that I've tested. They're like, okay, well, give us a couple days, and we'll get back to you. And so they get back to me a couple days later, and they're like, okay, so what's wrong with your camera is clearly something that would be covered by an RMA, which is Return Materials Assessment. So we're going to RMA your camera, ship it down to us. If it's not here within like 11 days, then we're going to cancel the RMA and you need to like resend it. And I'm like, well, I need my camera back by the first week of March. Before then, actually, ideally, because I kind of have a job in New Zealand that I need the camera for.
So high.
So now we have stakes. And they're like, okay, so I spend a bunch of money getting it like overnight shipped down to California to get checked, and so they have it for a bunch of days, and about 4 business days later, so like the first thing next week, like Monday, they finally get back to me and they're like, yeah, so we checked it, and you're right, the HDMI port is definitely fried. Your camera's also out of warranty, so this part, it's not economically feasible to fix it. We're sending it back.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, okay, wow. So maybe you could have said that. Like, maybe you could have mentioned this whole, like, hey, your camera, like, you bought it 2 years ago. Like, it's out of warranty. So, like, just a warning. Just a warning. There's a good chance that, even if it is like, yeah. So then they shipped it back, and FedEx shows up, and the FedEx guy's like, all right, that'll be $35 for the return shipping.
Whoa, no.
Jeez.
That's unacceptable.
And so now it's
Dan, you know what that's like? The American healthcare system.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, yes, you have a cold. There's nothing we can do about it. Go home and drink some orange juice. That'll be $50.
but so now it's the second week of February, and I still have a job in the first week of March, and I need a camera for it, and all of my stuff is built around this, and the thing is that we're doing interviews. We're doing these long, like 40 to 90-minute interviews. So we need record time. Like I can't just be like, oh well, hey, my gear broke. I'm gonna show up with my old camera. I'm gonna show up with my 6D, and we'll just push the re-record button every 20 minutes when it shuts off. We'll just do that. It'll be a bunch of interruptions. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It's like, no, we're not. We can't do that. I can't do that. So I go to VizTech and am like, because it's the only place in town that's going to carry them. And it's just like, I need this. And they're like, well, we don't have any in stock. We're going to have to get it in from Toronto. So that's going to be like a week. Okay, well, that'll still be in time, ideally. And so it showed up. And now the whole time that this is happening, I am well aware of a couple things. So this camera, the Blackmagic Micro, was announced 2 years ago. It doesn't shoot above HD, so it'll shoot 60p, so it'll shoot 1080 60p, but that's it. So for a professional device, it's falling a little behind the curve. Still good, still relevant, but it's getting behind the curve, and sensors are improving. There's just a bunch of stuff that's getting better. The companion to this camera, the Blackmagic Pocket, is 4 years old now. They use the same sensor, like they're basically the same camera. This is just sort of the second draft of it with a little bit of a different purpose. And so its sibling is 4 years old, and its parent, the Blackmagic Cinema camera, is 5.5 years old. So I'm sitting here looking at that like, okay, this camera is likely to be replaced soon, and not just soon, very soon, because we're in the middle of February and NAB is right at the beginning of April. Mm-hmm. And so, sure enough, today, on the first day of NAB, Blackmagic announces the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. As a slightly more expensive, but otherwise direct replacement, functionally direct replacement upgrade for the Blackmagic Pocket and Blackmagic Micro cinema cameras. And I knew it was coming. And I saw it coming. I saw this coming down the pipe. I was just like, I knew it. I felt it in my bones, and I still had to bite that bullet. So I have right now a 90% working Micro, 100% working Micro, which is what we're using for the stream, and then And now this is coming out in the fall. Now, okay, I'm not entirely like here's a couple things like that temper my my reaction, is that this isn't shipping until like July through September. They say
September, and when Blackmagic says September, they mean January 2019.
Well, in this case, what they're doing is
whoa! They're not Blizzard.
What they're doing in this case is basically what they're saying is they're like, okay, last time we did this, so like when the Micro came out, they're like, yeah, shipping probably in May, and then like 3 shipped in May, and like 5 in June, and like I didn't get mine. I got mine in July or August. When did I have it in time for? I had it in time for PAX, so I had it at least before the end of August. So like it arrived in summer, so it was supposed to get there in May. So it was at least 2-3 months delayed. and then a bunch of the other cameras that they announced. Like basically they announced too many products, like too many cameras simultaneous to each other, and so the cameras came out between April, like they were supposed to, and November of that year. So I think what they're doing is they're sitting there and they're looking like, okay, if we're doing one camera and we run the potential risk of falling, X months behind, what's sort of the worst case scenario of how far behind we've fallen before? And then they're just going like, September. And then they might be able to be like, surprise, launching in July. And then instead of people being like, boo, your camera's late, they'll be like, woo, your camera's early. And there's, yeah.
That's magical.
That's clever.
That sounds like good times.
Yeah.
That's too clever for Blackmagic, though. So I'm okay. If it ships in July, it ships and the screen doesn't work. You have to wait for the patch,
Oh, yeah. There's
yeah. I don't believe it. I want one immediately, but
immediately. So I haven't put my chit down yet because none of the Canadian suppliers. Like I called them all and they're all like, yeah, we're basically watching the press conference right now. And I'm like, okay, so you haven't talked to your actual like distributors in a while, have you? And they're like, no, not really. And it's like, okay, thanks guys.
For a like sideways mention of this, by your recommendation, I was going to get a micro, and then I got one, and then yours broke, and then mine arrived and would not turn on. The on switch didn't work. It would work if it was plugged in, and you could turn it off once it was plugged in with the button, but it wouldn't turn it on. I was like, oh well, in that case, I'll sell it. Oh, no, I'll return it and buy a used one for less because the used ones actually work.
Yeah, so the used market for Blackmagic cameras tends to be pretty good because people either get them and they get a faulty one and then they return it and then they get, and they do that a few times until they have one that works, and then they keep it for years and then sell it. So yeah, the used market kind of filters for ones that ones that work, except for Pockets. Pockets usually get sold for parts because there's a lot of things on them that break after heavy use because they have been subjected to far heavier use than they were ever intended for.
Yeah, my micro might actually have some kind of fixed pattern noise thing, but I could just be using it wrong because I'm bad. But it's really great, and it is a shame that they have announced a second one, but I think the micro is still incredibly useful, and just for its form factor, it's amazing for like a webcam.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of so my plan all along. Like, I knew they were going to come out with a replacement. Like, I sensed it. So my plan all along was like, okay, well, I'll wait for the new camera, and then when it arrives, my micro, this one, ideally, would just become like the webcam. Then I would no longer need to like tear it down from the setup that it's in. It's like I could take it out of its cage. I could just put it on a little clamp thingy and like leave it, and yeah. But so here's the new one. Here's the new Pocket. They're calling it the Pocket, but it's no longer pocket sized. But okay, I understand the reason for it, for why they called it the Pocket. All right, so it's actually more of it's a lot closer to the old cinema camera, which that's the wrong thing because I'm on the wrong window.
Aw, boo! Boo!
So no, show me the original. Where's the original? There we go. So the original cinema camera looks like this. It's a little weird. It's kind of trapezoidal shaped. I remarked on Twitter a couple years ago. Oh, I'm not on the. You can't see it because I'm on the wrong thing again. There we go. So there's the original. It's kind of trapezoidal shaped. You know, it's got all of these bays on the left hand side. Kind of book shaped. I commented a couple years ago when I was using one on a job that it's like shooting a movie using a dictionary. So they're kind of funny, and if you look at the new Pocket, like especially in the profile view, actually even just kind of like in this view, you can see that it's like it kind of is really more in line with the old cinema camera than the Pocket ever was. You know, it's actually the same thickness and width as the old cinema camera. And it's got the ports on the side like it and all of these things. And I'm like, all right, this is really the cinema camera version 2 merged with the Pocket. Like the two devices have met in the middle. And that's where they are. And the reason they're calling it the Pocket is because if they called it the cinema camera, people would expect that it would have the 4.6K sensor that's in the Ursa Mini Pro. And a bunch of other things.
Now? Like
so
4/3?
Yeah, so it's a full micro 4/3 sensor. It's a full MFT. So a good bit larger than the Super 16 sensor that's in the Micro and the Pocket, but still a small sensor. Still fits within the mount. So 90% of the lenses that you would ever use on the Pocket or the Micro are gonna work with it, like unless you were using a lot of like C-mount lenses, or if you had actually gone out and picked up a bunch of like classic 16mm lenses, which cost like $2,000 each.
I was actually looking into an old C-mount ingenue, which is like 12-120. That looks pretty cool, but I have too many lenses, and no.
So yeah. So here's the new one. There's one thing that's kind of dumb about it. Someone pointed this out to me when we were looking at it during the preview, and I can't unsee it. Is that there's two record buttons on the front, and they're right next to each other. Like there's one on the grip for finger trigger, which makes sense, but then the secondary button is like right next to it, in between the hand grip and the turret. And it makes no sense to me why that's there instead of the tally light on the other side being a combination tally light and record button.
I have a theory for how Blackmagic design cameras. Namely, prior to this camera, they've essentially gone, we're going to disrupt cameras. This one's just a slab. This pocket camera, it's worthless. It's new design. It's a small brick.
It's a small...
and like the Ursa, it has a 10-inch screen. The Ursa is
It's an iPad with an
iPad attached to a tank. Like it's
seriously,
bad.
if you haven't seen a full-sized Ursa, it is a scary camera. It looks really weird because one side of it is just a flip out touchscreen that is literally the size of an iPad, and so it's just like smooth.
The first camera that I made stupid videos on with my cousins, and my like baby cousins who I forced to record fake commercials with me was what the kind like the VHS that you had to like put on your shoulder to like you were the cameraman for the news station.
Just
and
looking at the pictures of the Ursa makes my shoulders hurt.
So all of these pictures are showing the operator side or the assistant side and not the operator side. So there we go. There's one that's like, okay, there's
You
the
said that's
view
like
screen.
iPad size because there's nothing next to it for context to show you what
Well,
how
okay,
actually big
here's
that
one
is.
that gives you a better context is this picture here. So on the assistant side, there's just like the readout. But then on the operator side, there is this viewfinder it is literally
Oh
the
my
size of an
God.
iPad.
So basically, this is the evolution of like when your grandpa like takes the grandkids to the zoo and like takes all the photos now on the iPads that he got for Christmas.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Except it's
this
attached
is
to
my
also a
theory.
full camera.
Like the Ursa, whoever it was who designed the Ursa was crushed by it. And then afterwards, they had to design them again. So they designed the Ursa Mini, which
It's
is
a very
not
heavy,
actually,
yeah. So
literally,
here's
it's the Ursa, but you can
smaller,
hold it.
yeah.
And
Like, so
from
here's
then
the
on,
Ursa
they've kind of
Mini.
made the cameras more ergonomic.
Or this is the Ursa Mini Pro.
4.6 has the like even has the ND filters, things a camera should have. And then from then on, they've kind of panicked and gone, oh, how do we do ergonomics? Let's just do what the other cameras do. Go, go, go. And those two record buttons next to each other are an offshoot of them panicking and emulating other cameras through other camera designs at this.
TJ says in cishet voice, "This is the ideal camera body."
So yeah, there's now the the Ursa comes in like 3 flavors now. The Ursa Mini, the Ursa Classic is no longer for sale, and largely the flagship is just the Ursa Mini Pro, which has all of these additional
and let's not
things
even
on the
get
side.
by let's not even get into. I mean, let's get into the promises they made about the upgradability of the Ursa that never happened.
Okay, this is actually a really funny story. Okay, so the original Ursa, so going back, this beast right here. So when it launched, it only had a 4K sensor, but then they were promising that there would be a replaceable turret that would be a 4.6K sensor, and people were really excited about this feature. And then it never happened, because here's the hitch. Here's the hitch is people were really excited for this feature, but like 20 people actually bought it. So it was one of those things that's like, it's the whole thing with like replaceable sensors is that everybody like likes the idea and everyone gets like really like, worked up over like, oh yeah, this camera's going to have an upgradable sensor and you're going to be able to just keep upgrading the sensor. And then like nobody bought it. No, like I think it was somewhere between like 20 and 100. It was less than 100. People actually
because eventually everything else in the camera is going to be outdated, and you can't replace all of it.
So
like I'm reminded of was it Ricoh who announced a camera where instead of replacing lenses, you replaced like the whole.
Oh yeah,
lens.
it's the Ricoh GX GXR.
GXR, yeah.
And like you got it. Okay.
The secret to that is you just buy the one that's a Leica mount and sensor, and then you just put that on.
Yeah,
and that's it.
So best buddy says that the battery alone looks like it can kill a man, and with that in mind, I do believe that this is the kind of thing that it like they would try to figure out what the weapon was on CSI, and they'd be like, it doesn't match anything we have in the database, and they'd eventually realize it was like component pieces of that camera.
So here's a weird camera that I've talked about online before, like I've talked about on Twitter before, because it's a curiosity and I probably want to get one someday just to have this piece of garbage around. So this is the Ricoh GXR, which is the first camera with a swappable sensor that is actually user serviceable. And so there's this switch right here that releases this whole module so it releases the entire sensor module, and for many of these, actually, like the sensor module and the lens are integrated. So this one has an actual lens mount, but this one is just it's a fixed lens. So if you want to swap your lenses, you actually like swap your sensor.
Yeah, but the trick with this camera is because it completely failed. Because look at it, you can get a significantly like pretty good camera, that on eBay. They're pretty good for what they are. I mentioned there's like a Leica mount, and those are supposedly fantastic. So, and they're way cheaper than any Leica camera you can find.
Dan, could you stop like rimming the camera lens the whole time H-Bomb's talking? Like, I get that this is an erotic stream for you, but like, you just like take a deep breath.
So one of the things, so basically, if you're looking at this, what you have, so this module here includes the sensor, all of the heat sinks, all of the like immediate processors that are necessary, and then they go out through what is basically a like SCSI port into the body, and then the body just contains like power, media recording, and buttons and a screen.
Yeah.
And it's like so this here is actually the camera. This chunk is the camera, and all of this is the stuff that makes the camera useful.
What this kind of does reveal is that behind the scenes, like, sensors are used across multiple cameras and brands. Like, I believe that the Ursa sensor was like they got that from somewhere else, and the 4.6K is actually good because it's like they actually made that sensor.
So the wild thing about the sensors that Blackmagic uses is a lot of them are like scientific sensors that they got from like companies that make optics for satellites. And none of like this is how they were able to kind of like even get a foothold into the market, is that they basically went for sensors that none of the other major manufacturers were even like looking at. So they were able to like completely surprise people with what the sensors were capable of doing, because Canon wasn't looking at them, Sony wasn't looking at them, Fuji wasn't looking at them, Panasonic, Hitachi, no one was looking at these sensors outside of their science divisions, and so they wound up turning them into cinema cameras. Basically, it's like working with the sensor manufacturer to meet certain benchmarks necessary for cinema use, and like it's really kind of a wild thing. Like the Fairchild sensor was not a cinema sensor at all, and but their design actually was really funny during the press conference earlier today. So Grant Petty is the CEO of.
Look, Dan, you can't start a sentence with "it was really funny" and the end of that like phrase is "at the press conference today."
Okay.
Like, that's not valid.
This is okay. So Grant Petty at the press conference today, he starts talking about the pocket cinema camera, and one of the first things he says is like, none of this was focus grouped. We don't focus group any of our products. And he says it in this tone where it's like a point of pride, and I'm like, you know what, Grant, I like you, but we know. Yeah, Grant, we know.
Like, why is that? Is that supposed to be a surprise?
I will retract my facetious joke and say that is actually legitimately funny.
Yeah.
And people will get it who don't understand what you're talking about. So I'll retract my statement.
So it makes sense why he's saying it as a point of pride, because it's like, okay, it's like we don't focus group our stuff. Like he's basically pitching this image of that it's like we just of like raw unbridled creativity. We just let our designers like come up with like crazy ideas and we believe in you, the creators, to figure out what to do with it. That if we give you tools, you will use them to make something that no one could foresee. You know, that the things you think you want are the things you already are kind of like anticipating. That if we sit down a bunch of cinematographers and say like, okay, what do you want in a lightweight camera? They're basically just going to like redesign a Red Raven.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, you don't actually get, you know, innovation if you do that. Like, you just end up refining what already exists. So it does make sense. It was just also a really weird sentiment, because it's like, you know what? Maybe Grant, hey Grant, you know what? Maybe there's a midpoint in between these two. These two extremes. Like, maybe you could have showed this to someone and they would have just been like, hey, I really like this camera. It's really cool. You know, your record buttons are right next to each other, right?
Yeah, like it looks like it was designed in a panic. Like, I don't understand.
I need a bubble refill, so you guys are on your own. Please don't scare everyone away while I'm gone.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Like, Grant, you don't get to say that you don't focus test your cameras. Like, that's a surprising thing when you release a camera that you need to be a son of Odin to be allowed to lift it.
You know, it's like, okay, Grant, let's look at your cameras, which have all, like, every single camera they have released has been reasonably well received, but also with like a lot of caveats. So it's like, okay, the original
Blackmagic firmware was if you pointed at the sun
goes black. Yeah. So it's like the original Blackmagic cinema camera. It's like, hey, really cool, interesting design, big screen. Screen is useless outdoors.
You can't film the source of all light.
Screen is useless outdoors, and when you point it at the sun, like if the sun is anywhere in frame, it just turns into a black hole. Also, the battery is not removable. The audio inputs are line input TS jacks instead of you know, literally any other audio format. You know, just some weird things about it. Also, it used SSDs like 2 years before anyone else had an SSD recorder. So it's like, it's this mix of things that are like weird, forward thinking, really cool, and also like, all right, that's a problem. So it's like the battery's not removable. So when it like, I was working on a thing, and eventually we hit a point where it was like our internal batteries died, and it was like, all right, we're outside, like we can't run a power cable from somewhere, we can't swap the batteries. So we wound up taking like the second body. We had 2 bodies, and so we had one sitting in a car plugged into the cigarette lighter, the 12 volt, charging. So someone's just sitting there with their car running to charge the battery while we're using the other one, which is at like 25% and just like ticking down. And we're like, all right, I really could go for a swappable battery right now. You know, but it was otherwise really well received with a bunch of
that didn't do anything. Like, the battery held 20 minutes of charge.
Yeah. So then the Pocket comes out, super thin, super tiny, great image, Super 16 sensor. One of the first cameras to ever actually offer raw recording, like, period. Shot to ProRes when ProRes was still like brand new, and was only $1,000, and people were like, it was super well received, ultra popular. Downside, the battery bay likes to break, and also the batteries are these super tiny things that only hold about 20 minutes of charge, 15 if you actually like record anything.
It's not a pocket camera.
It's and so that was the Pocket. Then the Ursa, the original full-sized Ursa. So then they released their first camera was the shape of a dictionary. Their second camera was wafer thin with a battery that would drain to zero if you so much as looked at it askew. And then their third camera uh, is Mjolnir,
You can
Hammer of the
replace the
Gods.
turrets, but unfortunately, it is a castle.
Yeah, it's and it's been a trip. You know, the Micro is probably their only camera so far that has been well received, and no one went like, well, that's weird, because they were like, okay, it's a drone camera, it's small, it's balanced, it's a cube, it's basically the Pocket but with a bunch of improvements, and it finally has a real battery because it takes LP6s. And people were like, okay, this camera is what you say it is. Good job. Good work, Grant.
Then-
Good work.
Then they go, ha, and smack the Micro out of your hands and hand you the Micro Studio Camera 4K, a studio camera that is tiny for no reason. But it has to be hooked up to a recorder to do it.
It has to be hooked up to a recorder. Well, so those are actually, I have been seeing those get a decent amount of use in specific applications. The
studio cameras, I remember being really well received. Like Giant Bomb used them.
Yeah.
So the idea of a mini one makes makes sense in almost, but also no.
Weirdly, a lot of their low end set, like they're really actually catering to like web content creators, because the Micro Studio camera is like amazing if you don't like, if you have cameras that are just set up and then you never touch them, you know, because there's only two people who actually make your show, and one of them is sitting there at a console and the other one is in front of the camera. And like, you don't have camera operators, so it doesn't matter if there's like, you don't want the cameras to be able to record, like they're never going to. They don't need a screen. Like once they're set and fixed, they just stay there for the next year.
Yeah, I think also like they only output video, which is what would make sense for studio stuff. I think it's the same sensor as the original Ursa and the Ursa Mini, so it's like low light bad, but you don't need that.
Low light bad because it's a studio. Yeah, it's a studio.
Yeah,
camera.
so it makes sense almost, but I guess to me it's like
it's a little. It's a little.
I have to
weird.
admit, no, it makes sense. It's just so weird that they released like, here is the Micro thing, but you can't record and the sensor's worse.
Well, they were announced at the same time, and so the studio camera actually was ready to ship right away because it was like, hey, it's basically just our 4K studio camera in a really tiny box.
Yeah, the first review I saw of it was of someone who was like, I bought this because I was waiting months for the Micro to ship, and it didn't.
I'm glad I waited for the Micro Cinema. It's been a really good camera for me. It's been so good I bought two.
It is a really great camera.
It is a really great camera.
Everything I didn't like about the Pocket is gone. I sold the Pocket immediately. Along with all of the various things that you had to strap to it, like the battery.
In order to make it actually like usable, yeah.
Yeah, and oh god, that micro HDMI port, mini HDMI, I'm so glad that's out of my life.
You don't like needing to thread a needle through some saffron in order to. Yeah, the HDMI port on the original Pocket was fragile. Is that the right? Is that even extreme enough of a word?
Yeah, like all of the cages that were good came with like a screw, so you could screw it in once it was plugged in, so it wouldn't like wiggle.
So like everybody I know who had one wound up getting something basically like this. So this is not one, but so this is for USB, but it's the same idea. Yeah. So you would have so this is micro USB. So just imagine this is micro HDMI. So you would put this into the camera, and then you would screw it in place permanently so that it would never move. And then it's just this little thing now dangling forever off the side of your camera with a full-sized port at the other end.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't miss that camera. And also, like, the screen wasn't really very good, and removing it was a better idea than trusting them to make screens. But that said, having used the Ursa Mini, the screen on that was really, really good. So I'm kind of can't wait to see what the screen's like on this. Oh
so the screen on this one is it's basically the screen off of the Ursa Mini.
yeah, they even used the Ursa Mini like firmware. Like
Yeah, and it
they're
has
just
the
shrinking the Ursa. Like it's
yeah.
incredible.
So
I'm so happy.
It's pretty cool. So it doesn't have everything I was hoping it had. My disappointments so far are pretty minor. So the fact that it's using the Ursa Mini Pro firmware is great because that means we can make a lot of assumptions about what it's capable of. You know that it and things that have been confirmed, like it can do arbitrary frame rates. For those of you who are
you don't consider like a cucumber a treat?
Oh man. No, I don't consider a cucumber a treat, Crystal. Why would I consider a cucumber a treat?
I'd treat yourself to a cucumber today.
Treat.
I love cucumbers, actually. They're great.
I mean, they're fine, but like,
yeah,
why?
they're a tasty
Like, not
snack.
as a treat. Like,
I've been eating Walker's Squares all night because they're. Get this, they're 97 calories a bag, which is great, but they come in bags of 12, so you don't actually save any calories because you eat them all.
That's a little. That feels a little something like the Tic Tac loophole.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not been a good day for my guts. I also ate 2 Kinder eggs. Oh, okay. I took my friend to the pharmacy because he needed some cream for he needs like a specific kind of detergent because he's allergic to all the others and we don't have it. So we washed his clothes and he needs like a cream to put on his arms. And he wanted to buy it with his card and there wasn't enough. There's a minimum transaction at the pharmacy near my house.
Oh, yeah.
So he bought just a bunch of lollipops and Kinder eggs.
just to meet minimum.
2 Kinder eggs. Yeah. It's awful. There's a bunch of toys in here that I don't want to bother to assemble.
Nice.
I'm sorry.
You should send them.
Cucumbers. Cameras.
You should send them all to people in the U.S. Break the law. Crime time.
Yeah. Something that upset me was that the packaging for the Kinder eggs was either blue or pink, and I don't understand why we needed to gender the egg of chocolate.
Well, maybe it's just an even mix. Like, I mean, it's probably just Easter themed, like blue, pink. Like everybody bought all of the yellow ones.
Makes sense, yeah.
So, on the minor disappointments, the only resolutions that it has available are 4K DCI, which is Digital Cinema Initiative. So if you go, 4K DCI is what cinema like.
I mean, you can tell me the real reason. Like, are you just not in the mood? Yeah. Okay.
Huh.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. You know what? I guess maybe I could mute her.
You could, but it's quite funny.
This is quite funny. It is quite funny. So basically, 4K DCI is it's a little bit wider. So it's not 16:9. It's what?
1610?
No, because 1610 is taller. 16:9 is a little bit wider, so it's like I don't know. Let's just say 17:9.
You should hatch one.
1610 is probably my favorite.
You have to jizz on it first.
Size. But
are we just we're just gonna let that last one hang until she gets here, aren't we? We're just gonna let that last one hang.
Did you hear me say? Did you hear me say?
We heard everything.
We heard all of it.
Did you hear me say you have to jizz on it first?
Oh,
No.
Did we? Did we ever? And then there comes Vex with the corn bits. The
corn.
I don't know if you heard why I said that, but it was actually relevant.
Was it the cucumber?
The cucumber.
No, you heard about the cucumbers?
We heard the cucumbers.
Yes.
Wow, I didn't. My mic. Okay, so my mic. First of all, my microphone's really good. Apparently. Second of all, I forgot to mute you before I left, and then literally remembered as I shouted very loudly within my own room, "You have to jizz on it first." So that's great. That's cool. So yeah, there's cucumbers. Apparently, it's not a cucumber. It was a green squash. I guess. I have cucumbers. Apparently they're gonna try to hatch an egg. So I told them they have to jizz on it first because they're not.
Oh no! Well, we were just talking about Kinder eggs, so
They're not.
Wow. Okay.
not
So.
fertilized.
So cameras.
So DCI 4K.
So DCI 4K. So the two of the three options are different flavors of 4K. So DCI 4K, which is slightly wider than Ultra HD, and then HD. Now, so your three options are two resolutions that are basically the same as each other, and then one that is literally a quarter of the size of the other. I was really hoping because the Ursa Mini Pro supports like a whole bunch of resolutions in between its extremes. So I was really hoping that it would have like a 2.5K or a 3K mode in there, just as a intermediate for jobs where like you need an edge, but you don't need that much edge. Yeah. The single coolest feature is it has a USB-C port, and you can just record directly to hard drive.
I can't wait.
Like this right here from the standpoint of doing corporate video, this right here is amazing. Because so corporate video, the thing with it is that you usually have like very quick turnaround time. It's not the kind of thing where you really care about like backups. And usually when you're done, you just give everything to the client and are just like, here's your garbage, pay me. And so this, where it's like, okay, you can just record directly to a USB-C hard drive, get home, plug in the USB-C hard drive. It's fast enough that you can just edit straight off of it. Do your edit right there, export directly to the hard drive, and then hand it over to the client, and just like everything's done. You don't even need to bother transferring the footage at all, and unless it's something that is actually worth backing up, in which case back up your work. But yeah, so full-size HDMI port, 2-pin 12 volt plus 12 volt power input. So that's a standard that's really, really common on actual on like REs and Reds and Kin Affinities and stuff like that, and the devices that go with them. So big important filmmakers are gonna like that. Then the XLR input. I mean, it's mini XLR, but mini XLR is just XLR but smaller, and so all you need is a converter that just makes the plug smaller.
Yeah, and that's good because it means it's not like with the audio inputs on the original Blackmagic, you had to like plug it into a converter, like a little thing, and it wasn't as good.
Yeah, you had to turn it into line. It was weird. It was weird. Wait, what's going on? Wait, there's a bit war? There's a corn fight?
There's a corn fight.
Leon Fenra donated 101 of your emote, and they're rhythmically like going in and out each one, and I can't stop staring at it.
Oh man, oh wow, yeah, they're all in sync. In fact, on my screen, Leon's and Glumbaron's are all in sync.
I'm not happy about this.
Oh man, what was I thinking when I made that?
The purple thing?
just all of them. I mean,
Well, I can tell you what you were thinking because I was there while you
Was
were
it-
making that.
was it this is going to be hilarious? Because that seems like what I would think.
Wait, did you just hear my roommate singing?
No.
Oh,
No,
my
I just burst
roommate
out
Oh
laughing.
man. Oh, Leon, double
Oh
row.
god. Oh
Yeah,
god,
no.
look at all of them go. Oh, it's like a whole field. Christ.
They overlap. The lower level, the lower row and the
Yes.
upper row overlap.
Wow.
It wraps. Oh, that's great. It looks like a full
Wow.
field of corn.
Oh
Oh, I
god.
love it. Yeah, then there's just I don't know, there's a bunch of plugs and stuff on the side of the camera. It's
Bunch of plugs. Got it.
bunch of plugs and stuff. It uses LP6 batteries, Canon batteries. Yeah.
Those are the micro batteries, right?
Yeah, same batteries that the micro uses, yeah.
Phew, good. Great.
I don't know. It's
Wow.
it's pretty cool. They actually have some, physical
great.
buttons this time around, despite
Like,
having the touchscreen.
It's the first actual proper, like, hand-holdable, portable-looking Blackmagic camera, like, really. And that's great.
Well, I mean, so there's a couple things with that that people are uncertain about, because it is the DSLR form factor, but depending on who you are, you either find shooting video holding a DSLR like an SLR, you either find it like comfortable and convenient, or you hate it.
Yeah, yeah.
So one of the current raging arguments is about whether this makes it like, pretty okay or usable, and people who are like, it is now literally just garbage because it has the battery grip.
Yeah, it's one of those things where this is my very limited experience, where there are cameras that are very foolish to try and like handhold on their own without anything, so they're designed to fit into a setup of stuff. Like even the pocket camera, not really a pocket camera, it fits into a workflow of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And any camera can really do that. I've seen people do the equivalent of what I've done with my stuff, but with like a GH5 in there or something. Like, it's a bit silly. The GH5 is kind of made to be handholded, but you can do it like that. And this kind of fulfills that, where you could handhold it, but if that's not a thing you want to do, put a mat box
I
on
have a
it.
question.
Yeah.
I have a question, and this is for both of you. This is like, so how do you get this nerdy about a camera?
Well,
like, what led you down this path? Like, how do you start, like,
what mistakes have I made in my life that have gotten me here?
titillated by sensors?
Gosh, wow. I don't know how it started.
What
Actually,
was your gateway drug?
My gateway drug was a man called Matthias Berling, who is he reviews cameras, and I think he's from Finland or Norway or Denmark. He lives in one, but was born in one of the others. Iceland, one of those. And someone linked him saying, haha, his voice is funny to listen to. And I actually found him really soothing. And then I listened to all of his camera reviews, and now I'm trapped.
And now you're trapped. So, but like, so is that where that's where you learned all of the things? You're like, yeah, this is what a sensor does, and it's this is a good one.
Yeah, that's where I kind of got my start. Yeah, that's where I heard about Blackmagic and stuff from as well. And it's
okay.
It kind of went from there when I started looking up, what is debayering? What is it? How do you do good? How do you do good?
How do you make do good?
Yeah, how do you make do good? What is IRE? All of that thing,
Oh man,
I went to a school, a university that taught how to make stuff, and they never taught me any of this. So,
so you went to school for like filmy stuff?
Yes, but for like film studies, not for like film production. Although I did do production.
So like,
my
what
production teacher,
what Dan makes video.
Oh,
is
no.
about.
Kind of, yeah. But my production teacher, the one who I actually had, the professor, was one of those like art film people where the advice they would give instead of being anything remotely useful would be like, just go to London and hang out and see if you get some ideas there. London is like a 5-hour train journey away, and you're like, holy shit.
Wow. So
Dan.
debayering actually came up on Twitter earlier today, and someone was asking, like, does it, if it's 4K, what's the resolution after, like, it's 4K raw, what's the resolution after debayering? And I'm like, well, it's 4K unless you want to get into the specifics of talking about color channel resolution. And they're just like, sure, why not? And I'm like, okay, maybe I don't feel like writing out all of those tweets right now, but basically what it comes down to is that, okay, so bayering. The Bayer pattern is a pattern for placing photo sites on a sensor, or it's a series of, it's a pattern for arranging photo sites that I don't want to say allows for optimal distribution, but has become very popular for its flexibility and just it's pretty good. It's pretty good. It works well. Everybody's familiar with the concept, and I do mean everybody, like small children, single moms, like everybody's familiar with Bayer, with the Bayer pattern of arranging color photo sites. So I don't really need to explain that.
Did you
but then the debayering,
literally say everyone's familiar?
yeah, and then I expounded on it. Then I expounded on it just to make sure that to really drive it home that everybody is familiar with bayering. So I don't need to talk about bayering. I just need to talk about debayering, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Naturally.
Everyone knows what the Bayer pattern is.
Everyone knows what a Bayer pattern is.
Right. Totally, everyone knows that.
So basically,
all right.
So what the Bayer pattern is that there are twice as many green.
You're saying Bayer?
Bayer,
like
Bayer. Yes, because it's named after somebody who also had the last name Bayer.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say last name, but you were spelling it already, so I stopped speaking.
Yeah. So there are twice as many green photo sites as there are red and blue photo sites, and then they're arranged in this kind of like flower-shaped pattern. And what this does is because green is the color in human perception that most closely represents the I values of the things we see. So if you look I'm not done. So if you look at an independent red channel and an independent blue channel, the blue and red values aren't necessarily going to line up with the perceived brightness of the thing that you're looking at, where green is very, very close. So regardless of what color something is, I mean, there's a lot of exceptions because perception is like totally jacked up. But generally speaking, if something has a given value of like a given brightness in the green channel, it's going to closely mirror the perceptual luminance value of the thing in full color, because our eyes are more sensitive to green. So this is why so many imaging systems use the green channel as the luminance channel. And so that's why there's more green photo sites than there are red and blue photo sites. Is for all of these reasons. It's part, it's an attempt at making machines mimic the way that human biology processes visible light. And it's complicated and it's imperfect because human vision is like absurdly complex because it's not even a single system.
So it's not trying to mimic the like cones and rods of the human eye. It's trying to
turn cones and rods into the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's trying to simulate
so this
aspects
pattern
of how we see
and
things.
the existence of there being a bunch more green on it is like to the human eye the like why we have QWERTY keyboards. Like it's an arrangement that mimics like use, I guess.
We have the QWERTY keyboard for basically because we had QWERTY keyboards. Like they existed for a purpose at some point, and now everyone's used to them.
And the weird thing about QWERTY keyboards, like going back, is like so QWERTY is actually arranged in a way that people say it's like, oh well, it's arranged to be slower, and it's like, well, it's not actually arranged to be slower. It's arranged in such a way that your usage pattern alternating between your right and your left hand are going to be less likely to cause jams in a manual typewriter. Yeah. Because the swinging arms you're less likely to hit two letters back to back that are going to cause arms to like hammers to come up and interlock and lock your keyboard.
I believe that a lot of our understanding of QWERTY is partially a myth.
So sorry that I turned this from nerdy camera talk into a discourse on QWERTY keyboards.
Yeah. Like Dvorak's whole thing was, they did it to make you slow. They never did any research into how to make it be good and work. Whereas I did, when actually QWERTY was pretty well researched and is actually all right.
Yeah, they went through a whole like because typewriters used to be serious business. They used to be really expensive things that every single business wanted because you could produce consistent output regardless of who was doing the writing, and so they were in a lot of competition with each other to make typewriters that let people go fast without jamming. And so
no jammy jams. Okay, so completely bunk analogy then. I am wrong. So, but yes, so there's lots of green on it.
There's lots of green.
So debayering then is what?
So debayering is taking that pattern. So each photosite, each stencil, we'll say photosite. We'll settle on photosite. There's a lot of arguments about what these should actually be called. So each photosite on the sensor is either red, green, or blue. And so if you looked at an image in its actual raw data, it would just be, and like you zoomed all the way down to the pixel level, each pixel would just be some intensity of red, green, or blue. So debayering is the process of taking things from that state and properly turning each pixel into a mix of red, green, and blue so that it has its actual proper color. And this is then one of the things that image scientists and image engineers kind of, that they compete on. It's one of the things that makes Blackmagic, really, really competitive, is that they are extremely good at coming up with complex debayering algorithms that are going to give really, really, really good results. And yeah. Now, the alternate to debayering is a 3-chip system, or not the alternate to debayering. The alternate to bayering is a 3-chip system where each chip is just red, green, blue, and then you take those 3 and just overlay them. Now, how this ends up going back to the resolution thing is it means that any given image at its raw level has twice as much green data as it does red or blue data. And so the actual resolution, so a 4K image is made of 3 sub 4K images that all have a bunch of holes in them and have been merged together through complex math.
One trick I was always taught when like looking at how a camera does information and if it's good or not is to look at the blue channel, which is where most of the noise ends up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
I don't understand how you can look at a channel and what is noise?
so noise is undesired signal.
Mm-hmm.
So the signal to noise ratio, so we call signal is basically desirable signal. Like the desirable is implicit in saying signal, because really any information traveling through your system is small s signal. But so capital S signal, which is desired signal, is what you want, and then undesired signal is noise.
Okay. How do you see noise?
In a visual system, it would just look like noise. It would look like undesired
Noise
signal.
is a sound, not a visual.
So, okay, so visual noise.
Definition.
Well,
you can
okay,
use the word in the definition, Dan.
So visual noise takes on several different visual looks. Yeah. All right, actually, wait. I can just show you because I have that whole thing set up where. All right, here. We're just gonna go to. No, not that. All right, let's. No, contrast, brightness.
Oh yeah.
Gamma. I don't know. Let's.
Yeah.
I'm trying to. There we go. Now we're getting it.
Yeah.
Raise the brightness even more. Raise the brightness even more. Raise the contrast even more. So here we go. Let's just keep cranking that contrast. There we go. So now we have an incredibly noisy signal. We have a tremendous amount of undesired visual artifacts, ranging from you can see a lot of the fixed, you can see a lot of the vertical lines. So like over here on the wall in particular, you see these vertical lines. So this is what's
still
called
adjusting for me. I'm listening, but it's funny because you're talking about stuff that I can't see.
So these vertical patterns are what's called fixed pattern noise. So what these are is these lines are actually artifacts derived from the grid layout of the sensor itself. So they're always in the same pattern, hence fixed pattern. And so this noise is fixed pattern noise. That's what all these vertical stripes are. And this is what this is what Harry was talking about earlier. And you've also got, but then you also see, in addition to the fixed pattern noise, you can see how a lot of these pixels here are like rapidly alternating between like blue and red.
Yeah.
So you're saying this is what noise is.
This is what noise is. This is what noise is. It is undesired. It is undesired signal. So the noise floor is usually what we refer to at like the point where signal basically disappears, where desired signal disappears into undesired signal, is called the noise floor.
Okay.
And so it's just the point where things kind of disappear. So if we were looking at, it's the point, part of, in this example, it would be anywhere that, the image just stopped being readable. So if you were going in and you were trying to like resolve the text on the spines of all of these game boxes, you would probably hit a point where it was just too.
No, I thought you could just demand that someone enhance a bunch of times and then it fixed it, and then you could read them.
Here, let's also we're gonna boost the saturation. Let's.
No, don't do this to me, please.
Oh, what is it? Is it giving? Is it? Is this bad? Does this hurt you?
Yeah,
Does
it
this hurt you?
Okay, so
Why
there
does
we
it
go.
hurt you, Harris?
Just my eyes.
So now we've applied so many alterations to the image that it is now falling apart. So we are just above the noise floor now. Like if I started doing anything more to it, it would just turn into like complete, I don't know. Let's find out what it turns into.
I mean, I would like to see a video shot like this.
This is like some horror movie aesthetic.
Yeah.
You know what he looks Dan with this exact look. You look like you're about to do a biopic about the day they took Shel Silverstein's book jacket photo.
So, yeah, so I don't know, let's just go gamma all the way up and then
Okay, so don't
like at this point, like really I can't if I do anything it just goes black or white.
Okay, wait.
Like those are kind of my two options.
What's the noise floor again? What were you saying something about the noise floor? I was distracted by you fiddling with things.
This is the noise floor. Right now we are at the noise floor.
So the noise floor is if you go any further, it's just black or white.
Well, it's just it's barely even signal anymore. Like
okay,
look, like so the color information in my skin, like it's pixels at this point are either black, red, green, or blue.
There's no
between them. There's no in between. There, like, if you're looking in all of the just the black stuff that is my beard, and here I'll turn off my other color corrector to.
Yeah, because you have to have at least 5 guys. Just so you know, just hot advice. You have to have like 5 color correctors. To do any film things. So, that's what Dan's saying right now.
So if you're looking at all of the black spaces, you could go to your local
cosmetics emporium and pick up a palette of color correctors for pretty cheap. It works out really well. So that'll stop all of your noise issues with your filming.
So if you're looking at the normal or if you're looking at the dark spaces, like if you're looking at my beard, if you're looking at the shadows, it's just blinking with random blue pixels. Like that's not, I mean, it is signal because it is a signal that is passing through the system, but it's not desired. It doesn't mean anything. It's signal, it's information without data. And so it's noise. And so this is noise.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like the kind of like fuzz that you see on something.
So what you're telling me is when I said what is noise, all you had to say was it's static.
It's static. Static is noise.
Static. But the concept of the noise floor is like different for different kinds of camera, different kinds of thing. Because like log footage, which is the kind of footage that Dan is shooting with this camera, is noisier looking when you start, and can be inherently more noisy, but is then fixed in correction just because of the way it does data. I'm messing up this explanation and cue Dan's 10-minute actually correct version.
No, I was just flipping back to the. I was just turning everything off so that we're now back to the film log. Yeah. Like this is what the image looks like just coming out of the sensor.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So
it's now very gray. Yes.
Now everyone knows what noise is, and that they need to pick up a color correction palette from Sephora
like, to
film. And now you look funny. You don't look like you did before? What did you break? You really screwed with this all of you're gonna be spending the next
No.
2 hours after you hang up the stream fixing your settings?
No, because I have properly compartmentalized. So yeah, I wonder. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Yeah, I can just put them up on the main monitor so that you can see all of the all of the things. So
okay, so does each color have a noise floor?
Yeah. So
ratio
yes.
thing?
Yes.
Okay.
So the blue
I just
channel.
keep getting more high pitched as I add clauses to the question.
To go all the way back to what Harry originally said is that if you want to check the overall like kind of the noise level of your image, the blue channel.
Wait, hold on. Pause, please. Okay. Just need to throw the can opening into the stream as usual.
The blue channel is going to be the one that's going to show it because the blue channel is going to basically acquire noise faster than the others because of the nature of blue.
Oh, no. I'm sorry. We need to dig into that. Why does the nature of blue make it more susceptible to noise?
Because it's a shorter wavelength.
Okay, that's a really simple answer that makes sense to me.
Things look blue when they're getting further away.
No, when they're moving closer, because then their wavelengths are being compressed.
That's what I said. No, yeah, blue and red shift. I always mix them up.
Okay.
This is awesome, by the way. I'm so happy for that. I don't care. I don't care how many viewers you lose. This is brilliant.
Okay, so wait. Okay, so every one of the color channels has their own noisiness, and blue is the worst.
So because blue is it's the shortest wavelength, it's the least sensitive. So counter to green. So where green is the one that we are most sensitive to and thus contains the most information, like luminance information, blue contains the least. It's the least sensitive, and so because it's the least sensitive, the desirable signal is going to be less distinguished from undesirable signal. Thus, the noise floor is.
So when you say signal, though, so what creates the noise? Is it to do with light?
Noise is created by inherent flaws in systems.
That doesn't sound right.
So, okay. So you take an electrical impulse and you send it through a wire. Now, in, high school science class, or actually in like elementary science class, when you first start dealing with this, you would just be like, okay, electricity goes from point A to point B, and you're going to treat it as just this like perfect system. Because it keeps the math really simple. But then as you go up in complexity, you start to realize that it's like, oh, well, actually, a certain amount is essentially is absorbed by the wire itself. The wire has intrinsic resistance and is going to take some of that electricity and convert it into heat, into magnetism, into stuff like that. You're not going to get 100% out the other side that you put in. And so that right there is the fundamental reality of what creates noise, is that as you send a signal through systems, you're not going to get 100% out the other side that you originally put in.
Yeah.
And Glum Baron is correct that noise eventually, if you dig down deep enough, noise is eventually a quantum mechanical effect.
So noise is like losing bits?
Losing bits would create noise, yes.
Yes.
Okay.
it's information that is lost regardless. Like, so the reason why I was being very vague earlier about where noise comes from is because noise comes from anything that causes information to be lost, anything that causes the signal to degrade, anything that, just makes it less perfect.
So how do you stop noise from happening?
Depends on exactly what kind of noise it is. And there's a lot of engineers.
Oh, hold on,
No.
you didn't tell me there was more than one noises.
Well, so like, I just finished saying that there was more than one cause of noise.
I wish you could feign interest in this part.
You wish you wait. Who wishes who you wish you could feign interest?
I can't believe it, but I've actually hit a point
where you just don't
I
care
don't
anymore.
Know more,
you don't want to
listen
know more about noise.
I come in handy.
Like, what?
Okay, but all right. So, but how do you get rid of it?
It depends. It depends on what it is. It depends on what's causing it.
Okay. Well, what?
So
how
okay,
could you
all right,
get
all
rid
right.
of one kind?
Here's going to be an example. Is how would we get rid of all of this noise that's currently infecting our video signal? Right? So the problem with what's infecting our video signal, if we go back to main monitor, is that we have turned the gamma, contrast, and saturation all the way up. So we are essentially applying a tremendous amount of boost to the signal. So we're taking it from where it was, and we're just adding we're just adding voltage to increase its value. We're just adding gain. So the best way of dealing with this would be to reduce the amount of gain that we're applying. And now we're applying it along a bunch of different categories. And so I don't even know where these are supposed to, like, I don't know, do these go to 0? Is that where they're supposed to be?
Oh no.
Well, because now I'm trying to, like, undo it. I didn't touch hue shift. No. There we go. And I think if we... Wait, what else is it doing? I don't know. Let's just turn it off. Oh, I think...
Oh, did you break... Did I...
Oh, that does need to be 0.
Did I make
you
mess up your stuff?
And then I closed it by accident. Filters. Yeah, get it back. I hit enter and then... Okay, so there we go. We've removed the noise by reducing the things that were, I don't know, impacting it.
The main big cause of noise is like when you increase the sensitivity of a camera.
Yeah.
Things get brighter, but you're introducing more. A better, maybe like an easier comparison is like with sound. Like any recording device produces an amount of noise just by its own existence, the input it has on the signal. So if you record too quietly and turn it up, you're turning the noise up as well, and it gets louder. So the objective is to record at a level where the noise is reduced, like is at the minimum, and it isn't going to be increased too much in the process.
That was a extremely good comparison analogy.
Noise in audio is actually, I don't want to say simple, but it's a lot easier to understand.
Compared to video.
Don't ruin it. It just started to make sense to me, and you're going to be like, well, that's an oversimplification of a thing.
It applies. You just need to switch it from thinking about audio as sound and start thinking about audio as electrical impulses.
Yeah.
And then it's fundamentally the same.
Yeah, because video is a wave, isn't it? It's just a set
it's
of...
also just electrical impulses.
Everything is an electrical impulse, really, if you think about it.
If you think about it, yeah.
I mean, literally
It's just
everything.
a quantum.
Like even
Everything's
our own brains.
it's just a quantum impulse.
Time is just compressed energy or something. I don't know.
Let's change the subject. I don't want to talk about video noise anymore.
It's too late. It's too late.
We could talk about
This is what you asked
Channel
for,
instead.
Dan. This is what you asked for. Okay, you wanted to talk. You wanted to talk super nerdy stuff about film things. So I just keep digging the hole.
The Blackmagic Pocket Camera 4K. It's made of compressed energy, like everything else.
It's made
on
of
sale now for $1,200.
It's made of quantum phenomena, just like you.
That's actually a really good pitch. I feel like a lot more people would buy it. That's a pretty broad marketing strategy.
People are saying, talk about the Simpsons thing. I have no idea what the Simpsons
thing is. Oh my god, I know a thing you don't know?
Oh, wow. I wrote a whole thing about the problem with Apu and then didn't make the video. And now
it's about the movie, The Problem with Apu?
Yeah, about the movie, The Problem with Apu. Yeah. The movie's good.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't get a chance
responded to it
tangentially
in an episode.
Oh, I don't imagine this is going
to go well. It was a very bad response. According to popular consensus.
I don't imagine that was okay.
It was done very poorly, and it's a very, very short, basically 10-second clip, but it manages to get the entire situation wrong in 4 or 5 different ways. It's a shame.
Yeah, you had me nervous at The Simpsons responded to it.
Yeah, well, also it was how they, not just how they responded, but who they used to make their response, and just everything involved. Everybody was upset about.
Chad is telling me it was Lisa Simpson.
It was totally Lisa. She is the one that was. Essentially they said, get over it.
Oh no.
For all intents and purposes. You should really look it up. Right. we could talk about it. We can talk about it next week.
We can talk about it.
We'll throw it into the state of the internet portion of the stream.
What was the other things? People just wanted to talk about CinemaSins. They're bad. Just don't watch them. They're not good, and they're bad. They're really just not. They're just bad.
And then people want to know what's the plan for SGDQ. Everybody's so excited for you.
Okay, so SGDQ, the plan right now is that, okay, so I have learned a few things from a procedural standpoint, that if you get into SGDQ, or if you get into any GDQ, if you're trying to get into GDQ, let me recommend some things to you that will save you a couple headaches in the future. So, if you're trying to get into GDQ and you submit your thing, and then registration opens up, just go ahead and do literally all of your registration right away. Buy your registration, book your hotel, those 2 big things. Go ahead and just do that right away, as soon as physically possible. And then, even if your attendance is contingent on being accepted, because then if you're not accepted, you can just cancel it all and they just give you all your money. They just give you a full refund. There are 0 consequences for canceling before certain points in time. So that is what I would recommend to past Dan, is book absolutely everything right away, so that you then don't need to jump a bunch of hoops and make some phone calls. Yeah.
Cool. So what are you actually what's the plan?
What's the plan?
Yeah.
The plan is I'm going to be there for the right now I'm planning on attending for the back half of the week. Okay, so I still have a couple days that I can like change this because I'm like triple guessing myself, quadruple guessing myself. I know it's bad, but basically the plan right now
This is why you have me be your friend.
well, okay.
This is my job in your life.
My original thought like that I was thinking, the thoughts that I was thinking at first was that it's like, well, I'll just say that I'm available like the entire week and then I'll plan everything else around that like then they'll put me on the schedule and then I'll adjust my schedule to their schedule. Right? Yeah. And they're not set up for that. Like that's not their thought process. So yeah. So right now I'm second guessing inside myself whether or not I should have like, oh yeah, I can be there anytime during the week because someone was like because of one person offhandedly commenting that they wouldn't be surprised if we were scheduled in like the opening few hours. And I was just like, huh, that would be pretty cool. And so now, but it's not even like an actual thing. It's just someone offhandedly mentioned it. And I'm just like, and my imagination has run away on me. So no, so right now the plan is that I'm going to be attending for the back half of the week, and that's what I told them my availability was. And so on the 22nd, they're going to release the actual schedule, and yeah, and then we'll know what the schedule is.
And then we'll know.
I don't know if I answered the question like at all.
You're planning on being there like Wednesday or Thursday?
Wednesday through Saturday.
So, okay. So that's the 27th through the 30th.
So if you're going to be at SGDQ in Minneapolis, St. Paul in June, and you're going to be there between June 5th and July 1st. Yeah, I'll be there.
Wow,
Cool.
My Hangouts just hates life right now.
Hey, H Bomber Guy, what's going on over there? How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I can't wait for your GDQ. Congratulations. I'm so happy about that.
That's okay.
I don't even know what the question is anymore. I don't know what question I'm answering.
It's GDQ is happening.
It's GDQ is happening. What's the plan? I'm gonna be there.
People want you to talk about like what's the deal? Like when so I know you
Oh, that was my question actually.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you have to bring your PS3 to the thing and like set it up and go, or do they have the thing and you bring the game?
Okay, so I sent an email yesterday to their tech people. Like they've got kind of an open tech quest. They have a technical contact. And so I sent an email just kind of like starting that, like, hey, this is my first time. I'm new here. What should I expect? And I haven't heard back, but basically I don't know, because the situation is that not only do we need a PlayStation 3 with a downloadable title on it, we need it to be in a specific save game state. Like it needs to have a completed save on it. So that would need to be done at least once to prepare, and then that ends up being console specific. Like it's not like I can just like take my copy of Amy and practice on any random machine. So right now I am actually honestly just planning. I am assuming that I'm going to have to bring my PlayStation with me, just because that makes everything simpler. It makes it a little bit more complicated in that I now need to bring a PlayStation 3 across the country. But yeah.
I feel like what that sounds like, what I'm hearing right now is you using that as an excuse to not bring Foldy. Like I'm hearing it I'm hearing it now. I'm hearing it already about how hard it is to travel with Foldy. And then you're going to be like, "Oh, but then I also have to pack this PlayStation 3. So I will have to leave Foldy." And that's not unacceptable. I'm telling you now that I will not take that as an excuse.
What is the donation incentive that we have to reach to ensure that Dan leaves Rango in
I can
the
just
PS3 for 2 hours beforehand?
I've got stuff that I can use to solve this problem, because I have Pelican cases. Like I already have these. Like this one's right here. And so I can just take this and like rearrange the foam inside of it. And yes, there is a Lost Dharma Initiative decal on the side. You are seeing that correctly. I can just take this and rearrange the inside of it and just put the PlayStation in this, and it even has like it's even got these points where I can like put a lock on it and just like put it in checked baggage and not worry about somebody like just opening it and stealing it.
That's beautiful. That's smart. That's awesome. You did a good job. I'm proud of you.
People who say decal are broken.
What?
What?
Is it decal?
It's a decal.
Decal. That's pretty quick. That's pretty great.
I'm sorry, what?
It's decal. I'm sorry.
No,
go home.
You're broken.
Dan, you're gonna need to stay in Canada now. I'm sorry, I can't allow you entry to America. That's just like bagel and big is like one thing, and Surrey is another, but decal is just gonna have to stay.
How do Canadians pronounce the ordained ministers of an order ranking below that of priest?
You're gonna have to refresh us on
your Anglican.
Ecclesiastical
I'm
hierarchies.
I'm not Anglican.
You pronounce them decans.
You're saying you're asking me what a deacon is.
Okay. You pronounce it deacon. Okay.
Because that's a DEA.
How do you pronounce BAGEL?
Bagel.
Ooh.
Okay, that's one of those ones that I'm gonna have to just like lean back and just like say it. Otherwise, I'll like quadruple guess myself. So I'm gonna say we're going to get some bagels.
Nope, that's totally not how you say it. I've heard you say it. You say bagel.
Earthman Dave says H-bomb say iteration. Okay, I will. Iteration.
Oh man, we could do this. We could do this all night, saying random words in our various dialects.
I've been entertaining a guest who I think I just woke up talking in this call, who is from Denmark, and I say a lot of bizarre phrases that no one normally says, and occasionally he'll turn and say, "Is that a real phrase?" And I have to say, "No, I'm talking nonsense. I'm very sorry." So
that's just what I say.
People are asking for like milliliter, banana,
Benino,
kernel, schedule, dollar, biopic. Why does somebody want to say biopic?
How do you pronounce?
Maybe they want to say
biopic. Like bioptic. Say lieutenants, or do they want us to say lieutenants? Caught and
over
caught.
Here we pronounce aluminium tin. Is there?
I say aluminum. We say aluminum. Dan says aluminium.
Everybody want enchilada.
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 Oh my god.
What, I feel like we're just being dragged at this point.
Yeah, like
I feel like
people,
chat.
people are out of...
I don't think
What
chat
do
is
you
on
do? You
anyone's
say
side.
do you say soda or pop or soda pop?
I don't know what I say anymore because I've lived in places where one or the other is like weird, and so I would adapt to the local and then move home, and people would be like, "What?" And I would adapt back, and now I've done that so many times, I no longer remember who says
Which
what
one's
where
real?
or which one I say.
Yeah. Over here, we don't say pop or soda or anything like that. We say the brand of liquid.
So you just say you. Oh, that's similar actually. So there's a regional thing here in the States. If you're in Georgia or a nearby state, they refer to all soda as Coke because
Yeah.
the Coke factory is down there.
Yeah.
So you could go to a restaurant there and be like, yeah, I'll have a Coke, and they'll be like, okay,
What kind of Coke you like?
Yeah.
And you're like a Sprite, like.
Oh yeah. Over here, if you're in a place that serves Pepsi and you ask for Coke, they'll stony face say we don't serve that here.
Oh, that's good. I like
They
it.
won't even offer you Pepsi. That's not true. They'll offer you Pepsi.
So it's
but-
not the usual like it's like I'll have a Coke. Is Pepsi okay?
Yeah, that's kind of what they do. But yeah, hold on. I have a question. How are you supposed to pronounce Saskatchewan?
Saskatchewan.
Is it what's Saskatoon? Is that something
Saskatoon.
else?
That's a different thing.
Saskatoon is
Oh,
a
that's a
city
different-
in
I
Saskatchewan.
was worried that someone was pronouncing that the same word differently. Oh no.
Yeah, Saskatoon is a kind of berry. And it's also
Every
a
day I
town
wake up and
or a
remember
city.
another Australian city I completely forgot about. I woke up in the middle of the night last night yelling, Brisbane. I've forgotten Brisbane exists. And I just now remembered Adelaide.
It wasn't even what it was. Just like, I forgot Port Macquarie. It's like I forgot Brisbane.
I only know 3. There's Melbourne, there's the other one, and there's Sydney. Canberra. Those are the 3, and that's
Was
the only.
was the other one was the other one Perth or Canberra?
Wait, Perth? Shit.
Yeah, the one.
Why do they have so many cities?
Because they're a country of like 20 million people.
It's also really big.
Yeah.
Perth's actually really cool. I liked Perth. Perth was great.
I'm visiting a friend in Australia, and the list of things that we're doing in Sydney is like, see the Opera House. I think there's a bridge there, and that's it.
It's the Opera House and the bridge are really cool. They're really cool.
I think there's a museum.
And the
Don't
Opera
get Dan
House.
started on bridges. That could be a whole other stream.
The Opera House is also right near a very large park that has an Anzac Memorial in the middle that is really cool. It's their Tomb of the Unknown Soldier.
Oh yeah.
It's a really nice really nice place to visit and check out. Somber, but
I looked
very
up
interesting.
The platypus thing, but they're booked up until like November, so
Dang it.
I'm going next month, so I can't do that. But
That's
still,
a shame.
It's awesome.
That's a shame.
Oh wow. People are asking me to pronounce laboratory. We pronounce it lab here.
Oh, they were trying to bait you into saying laboratory.
Yes. I'm gonna deliberately pronounce the words wrong now, just to.
Well,
get it
yeah.
wrong.
I mean, why not?
Of course. It's 4:49 a.m.
You're
And
allowed.
I've
Yeah,
got-
you're allowed to troll people at 4:49 a.m.
Yeah, I feel like
got,
that's
I've got,
valid. That's very
5
valid.
months before I can even touch the new Blackmagic camera. You know.
That's rough.
H-bomb, please pronounce cot and court. Okay, there we go.
I sympathize. That's a long time for a thing that you just really want to fondle. Like I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
I opened the Kinder eggs and there was a little Batman figurine in it, and it has a very slight motion to it where there's like a latch on his head, and you slide it back and his arms move up very slightly.
So he's
It's like-
sort of like a just like he's an action figure, but it's not like an action film.
It's
more
like
like
a tiny.
just,
It's like a tiny Lego ripoff.
he's a kinetic figure rather than just a straight action figure.
Yeah. There's no action here.
There's no action here.
Gollum Baron says, "I thought you were going to finish that sentence. A little jar of honey." No, the correct way you say that is, Bin Laden has won in airports of the world every day. I had a little jar of honey, now confiscated by rule-pound tundridges. Stupid waste. That's the only context in which the phrase "a little jar of honey" is permitted.
The only one.
It needs to be within the full.
What about if you're reading a book about Winnie the Pooh?
I can't believe someone convinced Dick Dawkins to unblock them because they thought they had a legitimate question and they asked if he would touch a poop for $20 and he reblocked them.
Oh my God.
Oh no. I had a little jar of honey. Oh, there's a little tiny piece of string, so you can put the string through the weird like nodule in this Batman's head, and you can like wear it like a necklace.
Oh, I feel like that's gonna be your next fashion statement in your videos.
I'm afraid not. Batman slipped off the string and has fallen somewhere on the floor.
Oh no!
He's gone.
You are a little bit slap happy, I think.
I had the closest I've ever come to fashion statements is I bought a hat recently, so I've been wearing that.
Oh man, I'm proud of you.
I was
That's
like, I'll wear this
exciting.
hat in public so people will be less likely to recognize me. And I wore the hat. And within maybe 20 minutes of buying the hat,
Really?
I bought a book in a store and got a tweet from someone saying, "Did you just buy a book from me?" So it didn't work. The other major statement is I found in a basement of the place I lived in my second year of university, I found a large collection of comics and a necklace that was the drill from Gurren Lagann. Like, that's quite a hard thing to get a hold of. Like, it comes with the DVDs. And I found that, and I just wore it. I just kept it. I still have it somewhere. Don't know why anyone would leave that. Those things are hard to find.
I need to.
I don't think that they left it.
No, it was just
To be fair.
a bunch of like old broken televisions. Like someone had just abandoned their comic collection and accidentally left something valuable there.
Yeah, so on accident.
Yeah.
Okay, so for the 250 people who are watching us just ramble incoherently, do we have anything to actually, I don't know, do or talk about? I guess it's my stream. I'm the person who should
You
who
should be the
be
one
in charge
who
of
calls
that.
it, Dan.
Like I'm.
Ever more people
See,
have
this
left.
is
Wall
why,
Street.
Dan.
Oh,
This is why I
we're-
cut you
we're-
off.
we're
This
bleeding
is
them
why I'm
off.
the one who like stream moms you just a
Let's-
gentle guiding hand.
No,
to
let's just
reason.
see if we can convince them all to leave. We're just gonna let's see if we can
I'm
actually
telling
be so
you
awful.
right now. I'm telling you right now that it doesn't matter what we talk about. People will stay to listen.
People
I hope you
will.
realized that you should have been making a podcast this whole time, Dan, and this whole learning to speedrun thing was not the point.
It was the speedrunning was a bad idea. When you why learn to do something when you could just ramble incoherently for time a while.
I'll tell Joe Rogan you said that, you scumbag.
Oh man. And then he'll have me on his podcast for spirited debate, so he could like call me names, and then I don't know, something.
The funniest thing he ever did was when he had Carl on, and Carl brought Anita up again, and he just put his head in his hands and went, "Oh, are we talking about Anita Sarkeesian again?" It's just the funniest thing.
I do think it would be entertaining to go on Joe Rogan's podcast and like refuse to ever actually finish a sentence. Like just the entire conversation, just everything you say, drift, like don't end any of them ever.
Nice.
If everything's just a hanging statement that kind of goes to a place where it's like, and then it yeah, and yeah. Like
Can I
that.
say, as,
like
a,
that.
as a fan of Speedrun Learning Curve, it's fun watching you slowly rehearse your GDQ sort of speech, the things that you'll be saying. But there's something like, it reminds me of a really funny old Let's Play someone did, and I've forgotten their name. They did like a really funny Sonic 2 Let's Play years and years and years ago, where every time they would load a save state when they died, they would try and go back to what they were saying when they loaded the state, so they could cut it together later, but then never cut it. And it was some kind of weird meta joke about bad editing, and it was really funny. So whenever you would restart a run and you'd say the same lines again, it was really funny and gave me flashbacks.
That's pretty good. That is pretty good. Dan, if you said the N word during Speedrun Learning Curve, you would have become Twitch famous by now.
It's true. If you would have gotten into a heated gaming moment while you were trying to fix your...
Oh boy, that one tweet joke. The first Twitch game show, don't say the N-word, has been canceled after all contestants were eliminated in the first round.
Oh my god.
Or it was like, no, it was just don't say a slur. It's like the Twitch game show Don't Say a Slur was canceled. Oh man.
Oh god, that's solid. That's some good jokes there. That's some good humors.
That's pretty good.
Cream
People have been asking, actually, okay, so I'll address something that people have been asking for like a while now. Why is NBA 2K16 on this shelf? Crystal, why is NBA 2K16 on the shelf?
Cause it's a Spike Lee joint.
It's a Spike Lee joint. That's why.
Oh my god, you're such a dork.
NBA 2K16 featuring a Spike Lee joint. How could I not? Hashtag be the story. Hashtag be the story.
I closed the stream because my call was like getting choppy. Will you do me a favor? Because I can't see chat anymore. Will you do me a favor?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna do a Crystal answers questions about Dan time right now.
All right.
But I need you to read me the questions.
Okay. All right, everybody. Pretend that I'm not here. All right. I'm all right. I'm gonna go get me a soda.
Okay, guys, he's gone. It's now question time with Crystal answers questions about Dan time. If you've never been here before, this is where Crystal's known Dan for like forever. And so if there's anything you ever favorite YouTube stars, Crystal can answer it. Go.
Where did Dan go?
Oh, Dan went to get a Dr. Pepper. Dan is gone.
Did Harris already leave?
Harris is here.
Which
Harris, feel free to try and answer questions
that I didn't totally make up. Has Dan ever tried to make like a mustache work?
Dan has definitely tried to make a mustache work. He looked almost exactly like William Shakespeare, and during that time he had quite an epic mustache.
I've imagined it.
It was an aesthetic.
And I think it looks pretty.
It was an aesthetic.
What type of shampoo does Dan use?
What?
What type of shampoo does Dan use?
Oh, he has the urge to herbal, you guys. It's herbal essences. He's got a herbal in the shower for another half an hour.
Which game on the bad game shelf is Dan most like?
Oh God. Oh, that's really hard. That's hard. That's too hard. That's too difficult. That's hard. Obviously, it's Beowulf, but I mean, it's too different.
I was gonna say Beowulf as well.
No, I feel
most like Dan is most like game.
Is there a Hannibal game on the shelf?
Help me! I'm being attacked.
Dan is most like game.
If Dan was a tree, what kind of tree would he be?
Oh, Dan would be the oh God. A weeping willow.
Which Dark Souls is the best Dark Souls?
I don't know anything about Dark Souls, and that's not a question about Dan, so that's just unacceptable.
What anime waifu would Dan choose?
Oh, I don't watch anime, so one of the people from Sailor Moon?
I was gonna say one of the people from
One
Even
of the
Gary.
sailors. One of Sailor. That's.
Oh no.
She's the one with the green hair, right? Is she the one that's green? Venus is so that makes that foo. A love planet,
If
right?
Dan was a Souls-like game, which game would he be?
Lords of the Fallen.
Yeah, thank
Oh no.
you. Coming in clutch. That's good. Solid.
You're supposed to take my side, Bomber Guy.
You would be the DLC for the Surge, where you go to a theme park and get attacked by people in mascot costumes. By the way, the Surge, which is basically the spiritual sequel to Lords of the Fallen, which is like, is actually surprisingly good despite being made by the Lords of the Fallen people, and I'd recommend it. Check it out.
Check it out.
I
Can Dan
think.
do a New York accent?
What?
Can Dan do a New York accent?
Oh my god. No, you don't want to hear it. You don't want to hear him try. Dan cannot do a New York accent. Dan can't do any accents. Dan's not an accents guy. Don't ask.
Is my
Just
New
don't
York
ask.
accent deeply offensive?
Dan's New York accent isn't offensive. So far off that you wouldn't know that it was a New York accent unless you were the one that specifically asked him to try it.
I want there to be a more like literature-based version of, you know, the McDonald's triangle, where it's like McDonald's, one black
Yeah.
coffee, or like we have food at home. I want to do one of those, but for James Joyce, where it's like Ulysses,
Okay.
portrait of the artist as a young man, and the fart letters to his wife.
Are you asking me which one of those is Dan?
Which one of those is Dan?
Dan is obviously Ulysses.
Okay.
Dan is
That's what I thought.
incomprehensible to any outsider, and it takes a really long time to like get into it properly. But then once you do, you're like, I kind of enjoy this, but I'm not sure why or how I am receiving enjoyment. That's Dan.
What is
Also very
Dan's
wordy.
thoughts on lost.jpg?
What? What's your stance on loss?
What is Dan's thoughts on lost.jpg?
Dan's thoughts on lost.jpg. Oh, geez. So, like, I mean, at first he was really, and then he kind of got a bit by all of the discourse on the internet. He discussed it with some friends, and then in the end, you know, I think he's come out on the side of its mimetic satiation, but is kind of sad about it as a shorthand.
Satan's best buddy asks, "Why do you follow Dan's release schedule as the ideal?" I'm not following it as an ideal so much as I'm following it accidentally through the same process of having imposter syndrome and never finishing anything.
Getting depressed and throwing all your work out,
Yeah,
and then getting busy
I
with
did
something
that.
completely external.
Wow, you guys both just baffle me.
Oh, and the best part, like, I really love it when I then get busy with something external and like lose.
Oh, Dan, you're
a couple
back. Did you
weeks
get a Dr.
to,
Pepper? You got it. You're back
oh, yeah,
now.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And then lose a couple weeks. So like, okay, so like I didn't get any writing done this weekend. Like I tried, and it just I was too mentally tired to really do any writing this weekend. So the 50 Shades script still isn't done, and now I can tell myself it's like, well, you know, we wrap up Legend of the Lich Lord this week. Like Friday's the last day that we're doing anything, so I'll just like finish on Saturday. But that's not true. I'm gonna need like Saturday, Sunday to recover, and then after that, like it'll be, you know, a couple other. Basically, I'm really hoping that it doesn't turn into like 2 weeks of recovery.
Yeah.
Like what happened with New Zealand, that it took me like 2 weeks to recover from New Zealand, and yeah.
Does Dan play any instruments?
Not well. Does Crystal want to give a fake answer, or do we want to
no,
give a real answer?
I mean, you're back now,
I'm back
Dan.
now.
You're obviously back now, so I guess you can answer it for real.
Yes, no, sort of. I mean, we're not going to count kazoo. Or we could.
I would at this point.
Dan used to write music. Oh my god. Please don't let the fact that he just did that discredit, because my answer was legitimate.
Can Dan play Wonderwall on kazoo? Let me try and remind myself of the
Dan. Post.
I guess.
2 days
gonna be the day that I never see. That would actually be a really easy one to do, because it's very monotone. Like, it's a lot of just kind of like
Yeah,
so
good job.
So yeah,
That's
that
exactly
one
how
would
it
actually
goes.
be like really easy to do on kazoo. Yeah, you could. Yeah, I could do Wonderwall on kazoo.
Link your
No,
music.
so I learned at a young age how to play violin, and then forgot how to play it. I learned piano, and I still remember how to play piano. I'm just not very good at it practice-wise, but like I can read sheet music. I learned guitar and then forgot it. I learned like percussion and drums, and have managed to stay
This is the shittiest humble brag.
marginally sort of not
this is
terrible.
Like, I have forgotten more instruments than you will ever master.
Oh, I was never, like, keep in mind, these were all, like, childhood instruments. Like, we're really talking, like, rudimentary skills here.
Right.
So it's, like, technically, it's, like, I could technically play them, but I was never actually, like, adult decent.
Right, gotcha.
Yeah. So
You could play, like...
Have you ever made any music?
I have.
Okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Part of me is worried that you are Spirit Spine or Visager, and I haven't noticed.
Oh man, I wish I were Spirit Spine or Visager.
Okay.
No, I'm not. I wish. I have written 2.
Link?
No, I'm not gonna link them.
Why?
Not right now. I don't know.
Why?
It feels.
Well, why?
Because I don't have the links on hand, and I don't remember where I have
Time we're
uploaded
talking
them.
about it.
I actually don't remember where they're uploaded
What's
at the moment.
What's I know the one that I know, but what's the one with the balloon? The music video you made for it.
That one's not online anymore. So okay, so there's 2 so there's 2 there's
3, but 2 are online.
So a bunch of years back, when I was during second season of Foley Idea, or what I called second season, the second year leading into it, I was like, okay, I'm going to give myself a challenge. I'm going to try to write a song, because I know, like, I'm not very good at all of these instruments, but I know I know a decent amount about music fundamentals, or at least I felt like I should have, because of how often I've studied music in my life. Saxophone was another one that I did back in school, and oboe, but I never actually learned the oboe. I just faked my way through band the entire year.
Everyone can be jealous. I'm listening to one of Dan's songs right now.
So I was like, okay, I want to write a song just to go through the creative process of, like, doing it. And so I did, and it's not very good, but it exists. And I went through the process. And so if you watch the old season 2 Folding Ideas videos, the music that plays during the title and the credits is that song that I wrote to go through the exercise of writing a song. so that I could better understand the creative process of songwriting.
Did my internet die?
No, we're just sitting here in silence.
Okay.
We're just.
Oh, it's
But
because
you-
I'm
but yours
listening
are
to
me.
one of Dan's songs.
That's cool. That's interesting to know. I have done music. It's bad. It's very bad.
I have also done the
I have
music.
also done.
It's so poorly done that I accidentally typed the genre wrong. So whenever I want to find my music, I have to hit the Windows key and type Elector. It's bad. I'm so happy that I've worked with people. I work with people who do music now, so I don't have to. I tried to learn the violin
I
in
love
university
it.
and accidentally bought a child's training violin that was untunable because it was too
Love
small.
it.
And then I gave up on music forever.
Oh, that's
God.
pretty good. People are trying to bait me into talking about Magic the Gathering.
Oh,
That sounds like a doomed.
There's music.
That's
There's me singing on the internet up on, if you're good with Google. Oh,
It's-
Magic the Gathering?
yeah. That's chat's talking about Magic, and they want me to talk about Magic.
Oh God, don't do it, you guys. He's gonna talk about it the way he talks about D&D, which is just like happily and contentedly complain about all the things that are broken.
No,
Satan's
there's a
just
lot.
asked me when I'm going to live stream Homestuck. I will probably never read Homestuck, and if I do, I will not stream it because that will take weeks.
Any more thoughts
Every
on The
day.
Last Jedi? I still really like it.
Yeah.
I still really like The Last Jedi. I enjoy it. I think it's a well-constructed story that has well-built and entertaining and both emotionally and mentally stimulating variants on the core themes of Star Wars.
I like that it says everything the prequel said, but more obvious, so
But-
people can feel good about themselves for noticing it.
It says everything the prequel said, but more obvious because it was on purpose this time.
It says everything the prequel said, but in a way that's palatable for humans.
That can be that's digestible. That isn't interspersed with a 20-minute montage of C-3PO being disassembled and reassembled in a wacky assembly line hijinks.
That was great.
That
What are you
was
talking about?
that was
I liked that part.
it was a break from the core cast.
It's like it was like THX 1138, but better. C-3PO's in it. God, I really liked the film pointed out that the Jedi are a religion and not a specific group of people with countenance over the Force. The Force is a separate thing. You know, there's a difference between Jedi beliefs and culture and the ability to do magic and all of that stuff. I think that's really I think that's really valuable and nice.
It also toyed with a thing that I always liked in the EU, in the expanded universe stuff, which is approaching the dark side a little bit more philosophically as not evil, but negativity. Like, so in The Last Jedi, the dark side is not, Christian evil. It's hostility, anger, negativity, it's dark emotions, but not necessarily I don't want to say like inhuman, like it's still human emotions, it's still part of us, and that the Last Jedi sort of like it embraces that, not the like it gets closer to sort of the balance idea of like, not that it's like, oh, these things must be in like absolute perfect, D&D style true neutral balance, but it's like these things need to be in harmony with each other, and part of being in harmony with the Force as a whole is accepting that negativity is in fact a part of your life, and The Last Jedi implies, and this is kind of one of the things that goes to like a thing that the prequel said by accident, that the failure of the Jedi Order was in trying to expunge the dark side in its entirety, which is impossible because they're still fallible mortal beings, and you can't remove anger from yourself. You can understand it and control it. And so their inability, like they had gone to such lengths that they could then no longer comprehend these emotions, and thus could not deal with them when like they didn't know how to actually teach Anakin how to deal with them, because they didn't know themselves, because they had grown up entirely under an ascetic order that just said, no, just get rid of them. And so then this becomes like, so The Last Jedi then calls back to that by saying that essentially Luke's failing is repeating that same mistake, that he has himself tried to expunge these in a way that then when they manifest in Ben, he panics.
And then Ben panics.
And
everyone panics.
And everyone panics, and it all falls apart. And
yeah.
So yeah. All right. I think it's late, and we've pretty thoroughly. We've pretty thoroughly. Yeah. The Blackmagic Pocket 4K.
Blackmagic camera was like it's been expunged.
It's
beautiful. Love it.
So yeah, there's a new camera coming out later this year, and I'm pretty excited about it. And it's hopefully gonna be really cool. Also, Sony came out with an FS5 Mark II if you want to spend $12,000 on a camera.
What you mean by that is Sony have announced that the FS5's used value has just decreased.
Because like because they have now taken the $2,000 paid firmware upgrades for the FS5 and just rolled them into the base model. And yeah, so
I want an FS5, but I also want to have money when the Blackmagic shows up. So,
okay, so let's wrap this up. Let's pretend to wrap this up.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for just showing up. We didn't tell chat that because it was incidental, but like he just showed up in the call and we're like, it's cool, stay.
You're just like, I refreshed this thing and there were people here.
Yeah, you said you were starting early. I thought, oh, I'm awake, and so I started furiously refreshing the Google Hangout.
Aww.
That's actually pretty.
That's like the digital age, waiting by the phone. You're just like sitting at home refreshing a Hangout button.
Waiting by the phone. It's like, oh hey, no, I just happened to be walking by the phone when you called.
Joined the call and been waiting when we came in. Instead, no, you have to wait until you refresh and see that Dan and Crystal are in the call, and then you join. Just
I did. I did absolutely, yes, and I stand by that because my worst thing is like, this is Dan's Hangout. You know, he gave me the link, but this is Dan's. I don't want there to ever be a point where Dan goes to join his Hangout and I'm waiting for him.
There's just people in there. Yeah, that is more or less the moment when I'm like, okay, I'm making a new link and sending that back out to people. And you're gonna have to ask for the new link if you want in, because you know what you did.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't want to do that. Yeah. Oh, God.
Your camera sense was tingling. That's what...
Really, like, honestly, if you just hung out in this Hangout all the time, you would just end up hearing a lot of just like rambling bullshit between me and Dan, because we just use this for anything. So
that's
really cute. You were just in here like chatting about dumb shit all the time.
I mean, I have a similar thing on Discord. Like everyone who I've ever streamed with has a tag that lets them join the stream room, and people do sometimes invite themselves in unannounced, and it really annoys me. So I feel bad when I do it to Dan.
Right.
Gotta be
Right.
given permission.
I do got to say, like,
Valid.
something I didn't talk about earlier that I'm really excited for is the fact that the new Pocket, because it has the Ursa Mini Pro firmware, that means it has it has arbitrary off-speed frame rates, which means that my whole garbage idea of talking about high frame rate cinema and shooting it at 48 FPS and then delivering it to YouTube at 48 FPS, I can do that garbage now because it's happening. I will still probably not actually have any HFR footage from an actual commercial HFR film because it's absurdly difficult to obtain.
Yeah, it's great.
And that
you
is
can
in
shoot,
fact
like, at weird frame rates on the GH5, but you don't get any sound when you do that because the GH5 is broken.
the thing. Okay, one of the things that's actually like really funny, it hasn't been confirmed yet, but there is a very real possibility that the new Pocket actually uses the same sensor from the GH5S.
I've heard that too, yeah.
Just with Blackmagic's new Color Science 4 powering it, which oh man, that's salt and lemon in that wound.
A good GH5. It's got finally a Blackmagic camera that has low light. A GH5S sensor is pretty great. That'd be awesome to do.
That
to
is
have.
that
And
is
also
actually
with
good.
Color Science is not bad.
Yeah, the dual gain. This is new territory for them. They finally have a low light camera.
Yeah.
with dual gain and ISOs above 8. So
good, and it's affordable too.
And it's
Oh my
affordable.
God.
It's pretty affordable, and and it has an XLR input for people who want to use decent microphones, and you won't actually need an audio interface by default now. If you want to use it has phantom power. Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. Let's we were in the Now let's actually sign off for real.
For realsies, though.
For realsies, I don't know. Plug something. Where can people find you? That's what they say at the end of podcasts, right?
Yeah.
Where can
people
say it find you?
In like sexy pillow talk voice though, because it's the sign off.
So where can people find you?
Well, that's good. That's solid. Harris.
You would know where to find me, but you should instead Google Nyx Fears, NYX Fears. She's a really good YouTuber that needs more, and also Malmrose Projects, MALM Rose Projects is also a great YouTuber who needs more views. So check them out instead.
Crystal?
That's great. That's perfect. Oh, as always, you can find me on Twitter at clearascrystal. And I will actually talk back to you, unlike some of these famous people who are just way too busy and cool to respond to every single tweet that they get. It's me. You'll get a like, at least.
There you go.
You know,
and you should also all go check out Bob Vids, since we mentioned CinemaSins earlier, but didn't actually spend any time like really dragging them. You should go watch Bob Vids drag CinemaSins. It's a lot of fun.
Well, it was a solid vid.
It's a solid vid. And watch his other stuff. It's pretty funny. You should definitely actually really well and truly check out his CinemaSins parody of Everything Wrong with Casablanca. It is some of the best comedy I have ever seen. So,
and I look forward to people tweeting me links to what they think maybe Dan or myself our music online. Good luck Googling.
There we go. All right. Thanks again, everyone. Say goodnight to your pets for us, and we'll see you all later.